we moved into an old house, and now this was just inside the borderline of Germany. And we moved into this old house and used it for a CP. And we started to assault Hitler's vaunted Siegfried Line. He had promised his people and his armies and the world that no one would ever be able to fight through that Siegfried Line. And we found that what he stated almost came true, because it was a very well planned and executed defensive line. We call it a line, but actually it was about 3 to 10 miles deep and was filled with pillboxes, jagged pieces of concrete that were supposed to stop tanks, anti-personnel and anti-tank mines, concertina wire, and of course automatic arms. We came under mortar attack and 88 millimeter attack quite often. We very seldom ever got under small arms fire because the infantry was always operating ahead of us, and we were doing everything we could to back them up and clean out any minefields that they found, or put out minefields as the case might call for. These pillboxes were built a lot like the Eskimos' igloos. They were rounded so that the arms fire would bounce off of them, and they had firing slits about every 15 degrees around the perimeter, so they could slip an automatic weapon into that slot, and then they could see to fire through that so that they could bring fire to bear on anybody that approached the pillbox from any direction. The ground around those pillboxes was scoured clean. There wasn't a blade of grass left anywhere that you could hide behind, so that it was almost impossible to approach one of them without being shot. We continually sent out patrols, and they continually mauled them with automatic fire, and sent fewer, and a lot fewer of them came back than went out. It turned out to be, as I say, virtually impossible to take one of those pillboxes, at least in the daytime. We did have a little bit of success capturing one or two of them by taking what we called shaped charges that were built like beehives. There were two sizes of those. They were round and had a cone-shaped bottom with 3 legs, and our explanation was that when we were taught how to use them, was that the force of the explosives went in the direction of that cone shape. So we, on 1 or 2 occasions, we took one of those and laid it against the door of the pillbox at night and set it off and blew the door in, and they were anxious to come out hollering, "Comrade, comrade, don't nix schießen," which means don't shoot. But that was a rare occasion. There was not many times that we could do that to have much effect on the great number of pillboxes they had. I forgot to mention that these pillboxes were so located that they had they could see each other, and if one got into trouble, the others could bring fire or mortar fire or machine gun fire down right on top of them, and it wouldn't hurt the German soldiers inside, but they could help massacre anybody that was attempting to to take one of them. Another combat engineer and I were once attached to a infantry patrol that was going down to, I guess their purpose was to try to capture a pillbox. Anyway, we started before daylight and followed a dim path that wound down the hill to where this pillbox was supposed to be. There was a road off to our left that went down toward the pillbox, but the Germans had dropped trees across both sides of that road, from both sides of that road, to block any tanks that we might try to use against them. When we got, I might say that about 2/3 of the way down this hill, we ran out of timber, and there were 4 of us that got right at the point where we crossed the road when it got light enough to see. We could see the pillbox down there with smoke coming out of its chimney, and so we knew that if we could see them, they could see us. So we 4 stopped and stayed there in the being hidden by those trees that had been fallen, and to go any farther we had to climb a steep hill about 15 feet high, and then the path ambled on down across an open area where there was no cover whatsoever. So we very quietly and carefully talked about what in the world we were going to do, and decided that our only recourse was to stay right there and try to keep out of sight. Well, suddenly one of these infantrymen crawled up on his stomach up this steep grade and yelled to somebody that he knew in the patrol that had gone on by, and they shot him. He started screaming and rolled over and sat up, and I reached up to grab him by his feet and pull him down out of sight, and as I looked up I saw the glints of the bullets bouncing off of his helmet, and he slumped forward and was gone. Well, of course, you can imagine how devastated we were and how scared we were, and also how cold we were. I guess I didn't mention that there was about 4 inches of snow on the ground. I got to worrying that the Germans might just take a few random shots into that area, wondering if there were other guys there besides that one that they'd just killed. So I decided I wasn't going to stay there. I was going to try to work my way up at the bottom of that road through those branches of trees that had been fallen across, and try my best, of course, to stay out of sight of that pillbox. Well, these other 2 fellows didn't like the sound of that. They didn't think we could get through there, and so they were going to stay and wait until dark. Well, I told them about my fears that they might start shooting in there. The branches of the trees that had been fallen concealed us, but they offered no protection whatever from bullets. So I was real anxious to get out of there, and I worked my way up the bottom of that road until I was sure I was out of range of the automatic weapons the pillbox had, and then I climbed out through the branches and went over and reported back to the infantry CP, told them what had happened, and that I wanted to be excused from the patrol and go back to my own CP, which they allowed me to do.